What's going on, my friend? How you
What's going
doing?
on?
This is Burn the Ship podcast. Glad to be back at ATV. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs with business owners that can help them learn from the experiences, characteristics that they have developed in their business. So thank you for being here today, my friend. This is maybe the third or fourth one of these that we've done into ATV. Just for a little bit of background for the audience, I'm not sure if we've actually covered this. ATV is big about proprietary technology in order to solve a problem. So most of the people that we're going to be talking here are either going to be service providers for those people or entrepreneurs that are building proprietary technology to solve a problem. So
Yes.
why don't you go ahead and tell us who you are? Introduce yourself, tell us your business.
I'm Robert Foster. I'm the founder of the Shopmakers League. We are, in short, American Idol for basketball, played via a social gaming platform. And you'll have a chance through that social gaming platform to win an opportunity to come to Atlanta and play against celebrities, ex-professionals, and influencers on a big stage, and potentially grow your network as an athlete and just as a brand, as an influencer in your basketball brand.
Sure. Tell me where this came from, like where your background, where your love for basketball came from, and how you kind of decided this was the way that you were going to connect people.
Okay, so for me, basketball actually became a way I connected with people. So growing up, I was kind of a big academic. My mom was huge on academics, so it was reading 4 or 5 hours a day. It was watching PBS documentaries about shows with surgery, live surgeries, and making sure my stomach wasn't weak because I was going to be a doctor, all those kind of things. So it kind of made me antisocial as a kid. So in order to get social, my dad was big on putting me into sports. So I started out baseball, football, tried track, didn't work out. Feet were too big for my body. Then eventually I got into basketball, and basketball just kind of stuck. I love the way that I could, and it's kind of as a part of being an entrepreneur as well, I love the way I could like plan out how I'm going to get better. So I would like work on my left hand. I would come up with all kinds of different, ways to do it. Put one arm in my shirt, or different things like that, and I could go test it and see if it worked after I worked on that part of my game. So that kind of just made me fall in love with basketball.
Sure. And so where did the entrepreneurship, where did those things kind of learn? I'm assuming that you played basketball at higher level, played in college, something like that.
I played in high school a little bit, had some ineligibility problems. I did not play in college.
Oh, really?
So I went to college. I went to Atlanta Metropolitan. Had some issues family-wise as far as like some people going through some really bad times. So I had to pick up the slack for some people.
Sure.
And myself. So I started working, and I started working in basketball. So my first job in basketball was running a park for South Fulton. I ran Wilkinson Mill Park. I used to co-run Sandtown Gym, which is off Camp Creek Parkway. I was one of the youngest superintendents in Fulton County. I was like 19, running my own park. And there I just started running leagues and being an AAU coach and training and things like that. I still had aspirations to play, so I played in all kinds of men's leagues. And my first the first time I heard the word startup was a startup basketball league. There was a startup basketball league that was having an open tryout, and I went to it, and I ended up getting picked up for a team. It was called the WBA, and it was a mixed group of a couple of rec centers deciding they wanted to form a league from Mississippi to Atlanta, and it went under kind of quickly, but it was a cool experience. Like I got actually paid to play, and we went on bus trips, and it was
Sure.
it was like that whole like minor league kind of grind thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I did that a couple of times, and then between that and just getting more into my entrepreneurial spirit, I started to get into the telecom business, where I had an opportunity to become an owner for the first time.
Sure. Okay. And so you're becoming an owner for the first time in the telecom industry. What was your role there? Were you managing other people? Or were you doing sales? You were doing everything yourself? What did that look like?
So I had a partner. Me and my partner, essentially, we learned how to negotiate a contract, how to outsource the work and subcontract the work, find good groups of guys. You learn how to hire, because you start, when you're dealing with contractors, guys can come in and go as they please. You don't have any ownership over them other than the contract and them wanting to make the money. And these kinds of guys, and I was one of those guys myself, they were going for the highest bidder.
Sure.
So you had to build rapport with guys, earn their respect, things like that, for them to want to keep working for you. Paying on time was huge, and I went through that on both sides, being an owner and a subcontractor myself. You just learn those kinds of things.
Sure.
Yeah, but we came in. I'm sorry to go back to the question. We came in on the ownership side. Like we were given the contract, so now we needed to find the workers.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so what was your kind of envelopment into the like ATV or technology community? Where did you kind of get into that? I'm assuming that had a little entrepreneurial spirit, got into the telecom, a little bit of B2B experience goes a long way.
Yeah. And
then that merger with the love of basketball led you to kind of birth them where you are now?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what happened. So and I'll tell you that story about the Shopmakers League, where that idea came from. But so going from telecom, I traveled all over the country, right? Mm-hmm. So I ended up meeting some people in LA. I lived in LA for about 13 months, and I watched a guy. I watched Dan Schultz. He started a company called Squeegee, and I watched him come up with the idea on a napkin. I watched him Uber his way and teach himself to how to write software, front end software, and then I watched him form a team. And they built the company up with accounts, and then I watched them sell the company, all in a matter of about 2.5-3 years. And he made a substantial gain from selling not necessarily the app. They didn't want the code, but another company came in and bought out all his contracts.
Users.
Bought out his users and his contracts that he had with certain commercial buildings.
Sure.
So I watched that one time. Then I watched. What was that one time? I watched my ex-brother-in-law do the same thing with a company called Rally, and he started doing these medical mobile med spa. Doing the injections for electrolytes and things like that after you're hungover. That was one of those.
Your hangover bags, like drips.
It was a hangover
like
bag. That when that trend kind of took off, like in 2016.
IV at home IV stuff.
At home IV.
Still big.
2016, 2017, but it just kind of popped off. 2016, 2017, and I watched that. I watched him go through the storyboarding of the app, the screens, and working through that. I kind of helped him with some of that too. So it just kind of started sparking my mind on the tech world, and like, okay, this is doable. Like I see the process, I see the framework of how I can accomplish this. So I took my first crack at an app. It's called Tech Now app, and I made it. For the industry I was working in at the time, I was doing some stuff with contractors, and in order to maintain your contract, you needed to keep a certain day of service metrics with your MSO. So if you work for Comcast and you're under contract with Comcast, every time you go to a house, they track how long it is before that customer has to call back in. And so if anything pings under 7 days, that's a negative mark on you as a contractor company. It could weigh on you whether you get the next contract.
Sure, yeah, it's like your resume almost.
Exactly, it becomes your resume, and it becomes a very accurate resume,
right.
With metrics. And so one of the big things and we've all got cable in some kind of way, right? One of the big things is when the cable guy comes to your house, he tries to leave his phone number, tells you to call him if you have a problem.
So that he don't get them.
So that he doesn't get the bad metrics. But what happens for most of us, we save him as cable guy, or something, or maybe we have 10 cable guys saved on our phone, so we end up forgetting, and so you just call the actual company, and it ends up being a negative mark. So my app was supposed to circumvent that, give you a one-touch pager system to get right directly to the cable contracting company instead of going to Comcast, and so that went pretty well. I was selling it pretty good, and it got around to Cox Communications and. The same guy who gave me a shot to be a contracting owner, he got me into a meeting with Cox. And Cox, their thing was they didn't want it in their system because they wanted true metrics.
Sure.
And it made sense. They wanted true metrics. But then he told me, he was like, we could use it on our side, but the only problem is if we use you as a third-party app and we don't develop this ourselves, that if anything goes wrong, there's any data breaches or anything like that, people aren't going to sue you.
They're going to sue the big name.
They're going to sue the big name.
Yeah, the biggest animal in the room.
Yeah. So that was kind of the roadblock in that, and I just, to be honest with you, my passion is basketball. I always wanted to get back to basketball. I did telecom for the money, and so I was like, if I'm going to go through more roadblocks and more hurdles.
It might as well be somewhere you love.
Might as well be something I love. So.
Right. Okay. And so tell me about this idea.
So Shot Makers League, the idea comes from me learning how to play basketball. So it was kind of difficult to stay on the court. I wasn't the fastest kid. I was probably like 5 feet. In 7th grade, I was like 5 feet wearing a size 13. So hadn't hit my growth spurt yet. You know what I mean? It was real difficult to keep up with people athletically. But I figured out if I could shoot the ball, I could stay on the court.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I figured out, ways of how not trying to hide in the corner or, how to come through double screen. Like you start learning like little tricks to keep yourself on the floor, and shooting became my thing. And my uncle, so we used to go to the park, and he would shoot with guys for money. And so it got to the point where I was good enough to where he would let me shoot in his place. For his money. And I started winning the money. And I was like, man, this could be something. So that was like the first spark. And then the second spark was a movie that came out called Basketball. And,
very familiar.
Yeah, it was a cool movie. And I remember watching it, and I was like, man, they're gonna make this a league. Like, this is gonna be a real league. I was like, man, if the NBA doesn't work out, I'm gonna definitely go try to get in this. And then it just never kind of came to fruition. And then as I grew up and got older, I was like, I think I want to start this. I want to do a basketball league. So I literally tried to get a basketball league together with Fulton County. Just so happens I picked the wrong time. That was when
COVID.
Well, no, we had this was way earlier. This was
way before that.
Yeah, this was like 2004, 2003.
Oh, wow. Really early.
2003, 2004, yeah.
Basketball was fresh.
Oh, yeah, baseball was still fresh, so I tried to capitalize on that and the fact that I was working for Fulton County, but Fulton County had a huge layoff. That's when Sandy Springs became its own city, and when they became their own city, they took, I don't even know how much money away from the Fulton County program, and so they ended up doing these huge layoffs, and I was one of the people that got caught in that.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, so, fast forward, learned about tech, a lot more business experience. I said, I'm going to take this thing tour-based. So 2020, 2019, I make a cold call to Dan, who's the founder of Hoop It Up 3-on-3. So I make a cold call to him. He tells me about KG has acquired them, big ticket entertainment. They acquired Hoop It Up 3-on-3. He's like, I'm going through the acquisition right now, but if you want to come on tour with us, you can. I give you a basket. You can set up and run your shooting competition and do those kinds of things, and which was great to hear in February of 2020. But then in March 2020, the whole world changed.
Did that acquisition go through?
Yes.
So right before that acquisition went through.
Yes.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Tough for KG, I guess. I mean.
No. KG bought it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough for him though.
Yeah. It was tough because they had to kind of postpone everything for a while.
But it's back up and going now.
Yeah,
right?
no,
From
it's
what
back
I understand, they've been back up and going for a year or two.
Yeah. They started back in 2021, and got right back to it. But
cool.
By that time, I had shifted where my focus should be and started getting to my really big picture was this social gaming idea where people could play basketball from any court in the world against each other in big competitions or small competitions, the same way we post on Instagram. Basketball players right now, if you type in #basketball, you're going to pull up millions of videos, and it's not getting any less any day. It's going to only get more and more and more. TikTok, billions when you type in basketball.
Sure. Billions
of videos of people showing off trick shots or how many I made in a row, just all kinds of dunk videos. The content is ridiculous. And the thing that I know that's going to come, especially with the growth of social gaming, is eventually this posting is going to become a way to compete.
Right. Sure. Explain to me a little bit more about the aspect of social gaming. Like who is an example of somebody that's done that really well?
Well, it's still pretty new, but social gaming wise right now, the companies that are leading it are dance companies. So you got like Mimic, you have I'm gonna forget the other one. Dance Battle. That's Dance Battle. That's another app. And again, they're using it. They're using the posting of these dance challenges, right? And they're letting the people compete. and then the fans or the viewers are voting whether who won or not,
right?
And things like that. And then they win prizes. They win some of them are doing crypto.
Sure.
Yeah, they're winning things
that
like
makes
that.
Sense.
Yeah.
And tell me about some of the relationships that you needed to have here in Atlanta in order to put something on. Like, what is the for whoever wins wins that trip out to Atlanta to play with those celebrities? Like, how do you begin to put together an event like that? What kind of connections do you need?
The first thing you need good advisors with great connections. You need to talk to the city itself. The city, you'd be surprised how much support you get from the city trying to bring together a big event like this, and how excited they are about things like that. I didn't know myself until I started, reaching out and talking to some of these people as far as venues, as far as looking for resources from the state. How excited they are. They want more and more things like this to make our city exciting, and the support you get from it is pretty cool.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever thought about going like intercollegiate?
Yes. There are some thoughts with that. I'm learning more myself right now about NIL, and so figuring out how that works.
I think everybody's learning more.
Yeah.
Even the people that wrote the rules are continuously learning more.
Yeah, so many great areas,
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like that's definitely a huge opportunity there with collegiate, especially collegiate basketball, because NBA is a bottleneck. There's only so many spots in the NBA.
For sure.
And a lot of these guys in college, they're going to have the biggest followings they've ever had, as far as alumni and old high school support and viewership, depending on what conference they're in and networks that stream those things. These guys have pretty great audiences, and it's like the prime opportunity for them to leverage it is either fresh out of college or while in college, because there may not be a chance at NBA.
Sure.
So definitely in the roadmap to capture some of that. I'm actually working with a couple of people on how to navigate that and what can be done even right now.
Right. So at the stage you're at right now, your technology's developed, right?
No. So we're in the process of developing.
Oh, you're
technology.
developing.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about a little bit of the happy parts and the obstacles of going through the technology side of something like this.
The technology side, really, right now, it's just more of getting it down and simple and clean. We don't want to come out with too many iterations.
I feel like user experience is everything for something like you're talking about. It doesn't need to feel. That's like a big barrier for any social platform. I feel like is how difficult does it feel to post. You know what I mean? Like Twitter, I can tell Siri what to post on my Twitter and she'll post it for me. You know what I mean? Like TikTok feels like the easiest way to edit and post something that you think is going to go viral ever. So you have to kind of replicate that.
Keep it very, very, very simple, very clean, and like you said, not too many clunks, too many hurdles, and make it feel effortless so that it doesn't kill the momentum, because especially as an athlete, momentum and the way you feel translates into how you perform. So if you want to put your best performance out, you don't want to be spending 5-10 minutes just to get set up before you do your video.
For sure. How much emphasis is on competition, like mentally, within the technology? Because it seems like what you're going to create is like this celebrity all-star game type of feel, which is like very network based, very influence based, very like viral content when you put all these people together in one room base. How competitive is this stuff actually going to be for the people that see the benefits?
The goal is for it to get really competitive.
Okay.
At some point. So if you take let's look at the big three, right?
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah. I even see Chris Brown and those guys like are actually getting a lot of influence right now from the beefing on the court, the crew league. They're even the Drew League, the crossover pro-am, stuff like that. Jamal Crawford and those guys, like those guys created a lot of influence off stuff like that. So it's definitely possible. And I was one of those guys that would have told you it was impossible when I was in high school or before that. I was like, the NBA is all of this. You know what I mean? But there's such a gap in skill as far as the NBA to anywhere else. You know what I mean? It's almost more satisfying to watch lower level of basketball a lot of times. You
know what? And that's the interesting part, because it's like it makes for a guy like me, right? Like I'm not NBA level, but a guy like me, I feel I can compete with those influencers. I feel like I can compete with. I mean, especially when I was younger.
For sure.
Definitely compete with the influencers and some of the ex pros. Catching the ex pro. I used to play in some men's league with some ex pros.
Yeah, that's what I do now. So every summer and then winter I play SEBL, which is the showcase leagues in the Southeast, and I do the same stuff. Yeah, up there in Cartersville is the one that we play in right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah,
it's a good time. There's a lot of people there too that are in that space. I mean, there are some people with some influence up there for sure.
Well, so long term, what's going to really make the Shot Makers League competitive? Like I said, this go to market event that we're going to have is it's going to be fun and it's going to be cool, and we're going to bring hopefully get somebody to rise to the top of that. But long term, man, we're looking to really create a global shooting league. So the platform is going to be accessible to all. We're going to have different levels to play on, but long term there's going to be a global shooting league where we can actually see, and the skill of shooting is something that can on its own stand, and you can find out and start to actually determine like who's the best. Like,
for sure.
We always argue like who's the best basketball player, LeBron, Michael Jordan, this guy. It's hard to prove.
And you
right?
throw 20, 30 metrics around, it's hard to sway anybody one way.
Exactly.
But who's the best shooter of all time?
Right now, Steph Curry.
For sure.
For sure.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Not even a question.
Yeah.
100%.
But now, when we open this up to the world, and you get Steph to shoot against somebody, if that person beats him, then now what do we say?
Hey, it's a different conversation.
It's a different conversation,
It's
right?
a different conversation because in game for 48 consecutive minutes is a little different.
Oh, yeah.
Than
totally different
than shooting in the driveway. But at the same time, it's basketball.
Yeah.
It's the reason that those guys play basketball and not basketball.
Exactly.
Because they weren't doing any running, but you couldn't stop them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So people that can just shoot the daylights out of the ball, there's a lot of people like that can do that.
And that's the thing. It's like we're not looking to say, hey, we're going to put out the best basketball player. That's being done a million times over. You got too many leagues that are already trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's probably 10 or 12 different levels from AAU to the NBA.
Oh yeah,
that are all preaching this is where you need to be if you want to develop your game in the best way.
Yeah,
and at least that.
Yeah, at least 12, and they're again still the pinnacle for that is the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So if you fall under the NBA, then you're always looked at as less than the NBA.
And there's really only about 500 spots on that level because there's about 180 spots in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 250 spots in Europe, and then you have like maybe another 100 spots in China that those guys are going to play in.
Exactly.
You got the top
tier leagues.
Yeah, and those come over multiple years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got 100 guys a year maybe going pro.
Exactly.
120 guys a year maybe, 60 in the draft and 60 not.
Exactly.
It's a very small percentage. Like I got a guy that played at Cleveland State. Like I wish I could remember his name's Paul something.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave us 70 in 2 20-minute halves of the running clock.
Yeah.
He scored 70 on us. Like there is insane level of basketball being played out there.
Oh yeah.
If you don't make it to the NBA, it don't mean you suck.
Exactly.
If you make it to the NBA, you're different.
You're different. You're a different breed.
Sure.
Yeah.
So where's all this headed? Do you see yourself cooperating with other leagues? And because you really do stand on your own. It isn't like you guys are competing with those people.
No, I believe we're very complimentary to them.
Sure.
A lot of these leagues, especially, the hope is eventually kind of like where that Big Three fits in, right? The Big Three fits in that area where I'm done with the NBA. I still want to use my talent to play. I still got hunger for it. I feel like we fit right aligned with that, where it's like, hey, I don't want to play in the Big Three, but man, do I want to get in a high stakes shootout on pay-per-view? Do I want to challenge Reggie Miller? Do I want to take it to Steph when he retires in a couple years?
No, not that guy. You say Reggie Miller, and I'm like, all right. You say Steph Curry, and I'll never ever shoot against that guy.
There's some guys out there, man. There's some guys out there.
I don't know. I watched him make 97.
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf is one right now.
Shoot the ball.
Chris Jackson?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Chris Jackson.
Abdul-Rauf, I think he'd give him a run for his money again in a shooting competition.
Talking straight catch and shoot.
We can mix it up, straight catch and shoot, off the
pull
dribble,
off the rack, off
the rack. Have a caddy pass you the ball, different things like that. We could test your your acuity to shoot. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the thing is,
I can catch and shoot with anybody.
with anybody.
I can catch and shoot with anybody.
We got to put that to the test.
I'm down like a frown.
We got to put that to the test.
Yeah. Well, this has been cool, man. I appreciate just kind of hearing everybody's story, man. The technology side of things, it's so unique what everybody up here is doing, man. You got a really unique, like, if we can be a small part of everybody up here's community, we'll see a lot of really cool people do a lot of really cool stuff. So I appreciate you coming up here and talking to us a little bit about it, kind of some of those challenges and things that have been going well. We always end it like this. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this is Burn the Ship podcast. So first, tell us how to get a hold of you. If we got people that want to pick your brain or do some business with you, invest, buy something, whatever it looks like.
Okay. You can reach me by email at robertfoster@shotmakersleague.com. That's ROBERTFOSTER@shotmakersleague.com. Or you can call me if it's a serious inquiry at 770-572-4127 at Shotmakers League on Instagram and TikTok. And reach me on LinkedIn, Robert Foster.
Sure. And where are you at right now? You said you're raising money. Where are you looking to get that from?
So right now we're looking to raise some money for the first event and the launch of the app. But we have secured a venue, so we will be doing our event in November at the Fan Control Hoops Arena.
Oh, cool.
And Pullman Yards. Yes.
Cool.
We have locked that down.
Cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Like I said, this is called Burn the Ship, right? And burning the ship, have you heard the allusion to burn the ship before?
No, I want to know.
So Cortez, the Spanish conquistador that landed in South America, decided I'm going to take this from whoever's here, right? Yeah. Well, he told his entire fleet of men, some portion of the Spanish Armada, that when we make landfall in Latin America, we will burn every ship that we have. And that's what they did. You know, they took some 60-something odd boats and they burned them to nothing. Yeah. To literally nothing. And then they went and conquered South America by mostly bringing smallpox. Yeah. So, but what they did was told these people we're never going back. Yeah. Like, we're going to burn all these boats, and nobody here know how to rebuild them. And if you did, it'd take you your lifetime. So you better figure it out here.
That's a deep conviction.
That's what business is. Yeah. And if it's not, it makes it a lot harder. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, you find, like, it's a difference between me and you and David Cummings. Yes. Like, that guy sold a couple of companies, hundreds of millions of dollars, built this space, community, bringing a lot of value to a lot of people. But I would say that if it's not his baby, that his eyes to the side of it, even if he's got money invested to it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you burn the ship and you go all in on your business, it's a really unique feeling.
It is.
So what I have to ask you is to sum up those emotions and how you felt about burning the ship when you decided this is the thing that I love, that I want to go all in on. What is it like?
Wow, it's actually been the greatest experience. I've learned more about myself than I've ever known that I was capable of. It's funny because it sounds cliche when people say this, but all the hard times that you went through before this, they actually prepared me for this. So getting up every day, working on Shotmakers League, talking about Shotmakers League, the no's, the yeses, and the yeses are way more fulfilling. Like, that's the cool part, right? You get past.
Outweighs 1,000 no's.
It outweighs 1,000. Every time somebody says yes, it's like it levels your business up. It levels you up. And the no's actually they don't bother you as much. A lot of times you realize they're just next opportunity, because some of the people that told you no in the beginning, once you hit certain milestones, they're right back around and saying, hey, let's do something now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man. So when I burned the ship and said that Shotmakers League was it, everything else just kind of started falling in place for me. It was like a sign from the universe that I did the right thing. Mm-hmm. So
cool. Yeah, we got a saying that we kind of pass around our office pretty often that says, some people have 10 years experience, and most people have 1 year experience 10 times. So 1,000 no's outweighed by one yes, all that just becomes your acumen. Exactly. It becomes your what you went through to get where you are. It makes you appreciate and understand and be able to replicate all of those things. So, yes, sir. What you got going on is really cool, man. I love basketball. Basketball's been my life for a long time. Anything I can do to help you or connect with your community, I would love that. I'd love to be a part of your event and building that platform and being a part and competing myself.
Let's do it.
As I said, I can catch and shoot with anybody. So set it up. Whatever you want to do, we'd love to help.
Hey, let's get it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on. It's good to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.